how was the dynamic of covering the Deshaun Watson trade? Like the balance of recognizing that the team was getting potentially a franchise quarterback, while also still not ignoring the fact that part of the reason why the Browns were getting him was because he was accused of sexual misconduct by dozens of women. So like having to deal with that balance, how was covering that?
Yeah, it was unlike anything I had done in my career. It was just such a weird time, because you have to remember, at the time of the trade, they were only 2 years removed, not even, from Baker Mayfield turning this franchise from a perennial loser to a playoff team that won a playoff game at Pittsburgh and damn near came within a fourth down conversion of beating Kansas City in Kansas City to go to the AFC Championship game. And then in a matter of 9 months, that whole thing was blown up.
Yeah.
And if you would have told me after the Browns loss at Kansas City that Baker Mayfield's on borrowed time in Cleveland, I never would have believed it. I wouldn't have believed it, because it was where the team had been the previous 30 years and where he had taken them in a short period of time. You just felt like, wow, we finally got not just the coach right, but we got the coach and the quarterback right. And then all of a sudden, in a very short period of time, a number of things happen. Baker Mayfield injures his shoulder a couple of games into the next season. He should have tapped out and said, no, I can't play. Even though this is my non-throwing shoulder, it's still too painful. I can't throw the ball with the same accuracy. He should have been the adult in the room and tapped out. He wasn't. Nobody in the Browns organization was adult enough to say, Baker, you're clearly not the same guy. We saw it with our eyes in real time. Something's wrong. He played. Now, obviously, he was playing for a contract. He was in the last year of a contract, his rookie contract, and he was playing for another deal. So, and then the weird stuff with OBJ happened, where his dad puts out a videotape of the all-22 showing that Odell's open all the time and Baker doesn't throw to him. And weirdly, the Browns were much better from a production and a winning standpoint in games where Odell didn't play compared to games when he did. And in very short order, I think that was the tipping point. Fans saw that tape that Odell's dad put out, and suddenly Baker became persona non grata. He was the problem. So I think a large portion of the fan base had moved on. They were the vocal part of the fan base. And then came the weird discussions about they weren't going to re-sign Baker Mayfield. And then came the news that, Baker found out through the media that they were pursuing Deshaun Watson. And the next day, the story comes out that Watson told the Browns, no, he doesn't want to play in Cleveland. Then the Browns came back to Baker. Now Baker's holding the hammer. And Baker said, no, I can't play for you guys. You were ready to move on yesterday. And now your new date to the prom said no. And now you want to go to the prom with me? I'm good. And so from there, it just evolved or devolved into this situation where he's gone. The Browns come back with the richest contract offer in guaranteed dollars in the history of the sport for a guy who was already in the spotlight for a sexual assault scandal with, as you said, dozens of women. And I just said, well, this is like, I didn't have this on my Browns bingo card, but I should have. Like, this is the stuff that happens to the Browns. And I thought that a lot of people were quick to judge Deshaun Watson as an abuser. I'm still not sure myself what to believe. There were so many women, but at the same time, I understand that, there was money to be made, and the lawyer representing the women was actively reaching out. Hey, anybody else want to jump on this train? And the next thing you know, there's 25 or whatever the number ended up growing to. And it was just, watching it in real time was unbelievable. And then he comes back last year after his 11-game suspension and never even remotely looked like the guy that was in the MVP conversation a couple of years earlier. Right. And even this year in 3 games, his first 2 games were stinkers. Like, he did not play well at all. And then he finally comes out against Tennessee and looks kind of like that guy and everybody's excited. Here he is. He's back. And then the injury, and he's missed the last 2 games, and we still don't know if he's going to play Sunday against Indianapolis. So it's one of the more bizarre storylines I've ever covered up close. And personally, I'm not convinced yet that deal had to be made. I'm not sure Kevin Stefanski was sure it had to be made, because in the days after it was made, he was asked at a news conference what his role was in the recruitment. And he said, look, I think someone asked him pointedly, did you think that you had to move on from Baker? And he said, no, I thought we could win with Baker. We did win with Baker. I thought that was perfectly fine, but we had an opportunity to upgrade the position, because I think everybody in that time and even now would say it was an upgrade. So, here we are now in the second year of a 5-year guaranteed deal, and we're handcuffed with one another for better or worse. So I don't know how this thing ends. My hope is he gets healthy, he balls out, and with this really, really good defense, he doesn't have to be old Houston Deshaun for them to make the playoffs and make a run. He can just be adequate Deshaun. Don't give the ball away. Take care of the football. Be the Ravens, be the Buccaneers, when they won Super Bowls with all-time elite defenses and Trent Dilfer and Brad Johnson. We may not need you to be all-time great. Just going to need you to be pretty good. And hopefully he comes back and he can do that, and the Browns can make a run and see what happens.